Welcome back to another episode of the Mounties Corner. I am your host, Ed the Mountie. And we have a guest indeed, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Nate Dawg from 5 Minute Promo. You guys have seen him before. You might have heard of him. You should have by now. He's one of my partners in crimes. We go back all the way to the PDC Nation days. And if you guys don't know about that, you guys can check that out on iTunes. We used to do a podcast called Pile Drive Cast. Great stuff. Right around the time of WrestleMania 30. We took a little bit of a hiatus. We reconnected, social media-wise. Got everything back in order, and now we're collabing once again for the Elimination Chamber 2018 predictions. We're going to talk a little bit about the direction of how WWE is going into WrestleMania, our thoughts, what we think should happen or what we think could happen. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Nate Dawg.
Hello. I'm Nate Dawg. What I'd like to have right now for the next hour is for all of you to silence your phones and hold your applause until the end while me and the Mountie bang another episode out of the park. What's up?
I love it. I love it. That was amazing. What an entrance, ladies and gentlemen. What an entrance indeed. You've been practicing on that guitar, haven't you?
Practicing, not playing it yet.
Nice scarf. You look like a real drifter out there.
Gotta get by.
So welcome back, man. We thought about this last second, so there wasn't really a lot of a plugging to kind of get, a big fan base behind it. But I see that Broken Empire is already in the chat. We got David Jones. Welcome to the gang, guys. The Mountie was a little bit under the weather for the last couple of weeks. Well, a little bit, week and a bit. So we're feeling a little bit better right now, and we got some more videos coming your way. So we have some stuff that I'm going to get into a little bit later as far as what to expect on Mounties Corner in the next coming weeks. But in the meantime, we got Nate Dawg here. We're going to be talking about Elimination Chamber coming to you live tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Eastern Standard Time, and we're looking forward to it. I think it's still a 3-hour pay-per-view. It's not 4 hours. They're not doing that yet, are they?
Well, if they're going to do 6 matches in 4 hours, they're really going to drag that thing out.
Yeah, they're really going to stretch it out. So I agree with you. I mean, NXT, you can kind of – I think they get away with, doing a small amount of matches, but they space it out in a 3-hour span. And that's always, exciting and everything else. And we can get into that a little bit later as far as the WWE pay-per-views are concerned with the 4-hour limits. I'm not really against it, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. But this particular pay-per-view looks okay. I think it has the potential to be really good. I'd like to say that I'm super stoked and excited about it, but truth is not quite as much. And I'm sure you know why, but it's just one of those – I feel like it could be a little bit too predictable for my liking. I think Royal Rumble had a really solid match card behind it. It had a lot of different possibilities they could have went. But now that that dust has been settled, let's talk about a couple of the matches going into Elimination Chamber. First and foremost, they added a pre-show match, which I'll watch because, I don't know. I mean, it seems like it could be something to watch. There's no stipulation behind it. They're just kind of throwing this one sort of together, I find at least. I could be wrong. But you have Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, 2/3 of the Balor Club, if you want to call them that. Bullet Club, Balor Club, you know what I'm saying? And they're going up against the Miztourage, being Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. So talk to me about this one, and who do you like?
Well, going back to what you said before we got into the first match is this has potential to be a great pay-per-view. I have no doubt in my mind. But one thing that I felt they really did a lackluster job on was they had trouble sealing the deal over the last few weeks. I felt like they left a lot out there. They didn't reel us in the last couple of weeks, which is exactly what I expected from those last 2 episodes of Raw.
Yeah.
I really thought that they strung us along. I thought they were going in the right direction when they had the gauntlet match, and then it was just like they went back to like sort of same old stuff. Um, but yeah, to answer your question, the reason why we're probably interested in this tag match on the pre-show is that it might have some WrestleMania implications. You got two teams right now. One is on the comeback trail due to some bad luck and some injuries. The
Yeah.
other one is heavily implicated with the club. And depending how this match goes, they might actually be at the forefront of a tag team match somewhere near or actually at WrestleMania. So the Revival, they're still relatively, I don't see them getting that big of a stage in terms of leading up into WrestleMania. And it looks like they're sort of pushing their chips towards the sides of Balor Club, but there's more of an upside to it long term. So in terms of the pre-show, I would have to say Anderson and Gallows. But then again, I love throwing this up. So
Exactly. And I like the way you think. And I agree with you because there needs to be some sort of awesome tag team speculation. First of all, I'd love to see both tag titles on the line at WrestleMania this year. I think the Usos obviously need to, they need to have their moment. It's been long overdue, and they've had an amazing year. And I think that Sheamus and Cesaro are right. This, especially this year, they've done an excellent job. And I'd love to see like you said, it could lead up to some sort of stipulations, and the road to WrestleMania right now is being formed. So, yeah, I'd love to see like a four corner sort of fatal four way tag team match for the titles, either first pinfall wins or maybe some sort of mini elimination. Like they can go different ways. I'd love to see the Revival inserted. I think you can probably get away with maybe these two teams, but if not, I could probably do without the Miztourage, to be honest with you. It's not that I don't like the guys, I know, but it's one of those things where I think they could just be as valuable in a weird way to the WrestleMania show, being accompanied, or rather by the Miz's side in his match. I think that would be okay with me. I think I would like to insert maybe another tag team into that, maybe like the Broken Hardys or something like that. If they were going to go in that direction, we still don't know what's going to happen with, Brother Nero. If there is going to be a Brother Nero, hopefully there will be one. But I'm also hearing that Jeff Hardy might not be in time for WrestleMania, or might be in time for WrestleMania. I'd love to see them do something like that, like especially with the Hardys. I don't mean to go off topic here, but with the impact that they had last WrestleMania, it would be even that much more awesome if they would to debut their broken brothers together at WrestleMania on the big stage, and even be inserted again like they had last year. Something like that would be nice. You have like the Revival, and then you have the Balor Club, and then you have Sheamus and Cesaro, and then you have a 14, right? And then they come out. I mean, I know it was done last year, and that was like a huge surprise, but this would just add to that next level for those two guys. And then it could be like an awesome fatal four-way for the tag team titles. I'd love to see it. So I like the way you're thinking, man. And I'd like to go with Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows as well.
And just to touch on it, the one thing that was missing from last year's WrestleMania, when they did surprise us, sort of swerve us with the Hardys, was that the fans were aching for that broken thing.
Yeah.
So for me, like, even if they were going to do it again this year, I think they'll do it on a different dynamic. So even though it would seem somewhat repetitive at first, I would just like to see it sort of happen in some kind of capacity. And to touch back on these tag straps, and I'd like to see them all defended at WrestleMania. A lot of people don't notice it, and it's really slid under the radar. There's been some kind of formation of the Shield versus the Bar every week since July.
Yeah.
And
you're not wrong.
WWE has gotten away with it, and the problem is that you're squeaking by with the idea that the Bar is going in there as tag team champions, and I'm trying to figure out like what the end game sort of payoff is for that. Because you sort of dangled the carrot for them over the last like 9 months, and now they're going to go into WrestleMania, and I like them personally, but it's getting stale. And it's getting to that dangerous area of stale where I don't care. And it's crazy because it's two dynamics of tag team wrestling. I like what they're doing on SmackDown, even though Usos are running roughshod, but it just seems it's the same old stuff again on Raw. And I'm sort of worried like where they're going to go with that. And I think that this kind of match has implications with that.
Yeah, no, that's it. I totally agree. And it's one of those things with Sheamus and Cesaro, as awesome of a tag team cohesive unit as they are, I kind of agree with you where it's like, ultimately, what is the end goal? I'm with you. I think that eventually they have to sort of take a hard look and say, okay, these two guys have obviously paid their dues and then some. And the only one that hasn't really got a reward for paying their dues would be arguably Cesaro. I mean, when you think about it, he's the only one that hasn't really, other than the U.S. title, he hasn't really held anything else. He has a tag title, cool, and he's been rather successful with that with Sheamus. And Sheamus, who would have thought that I thought this tag team was just going to be a flare in the sky that's going to come down real quick. I mean, we're going on a couple of years now, and it's just like, okay, and they were so against each other and off at first that it was just awkward, I found. But they were able to find some chemistry and, get on the same page in a way. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking on a kayfabe standpoint. I'm talking on everything standpoint with the outfits, the entrance, and how they really seem like a great tag team right now, and they're going to go down in history now as something that was a very good and successful tag team, just based on their two experiences alone, their two talents. Like, they're very solid, but I'd really love to see them sort of go in their own direction eventually, especially for Cesaro. I mean, at some point, I want to see this guy as an awesome singles wrestler, whether it's face or heel. I haven't really taken him seriously as a heel. I did maybe for the first 5 minutes, but after that, I was like, he's so over, The
thing is, though, with his heel runs is that it's like he knows that they're gonna like pull the ball out, pull the carpet out from under him at some point. And since they treat him like a joke, he sort of treats his run like a joke kind of thing. Like, he has this attitude, and it's not. It's from a professional point of view. It's nothing that's really portrayed on the screen. It just seems like he's ready to get serious when WWE is ready to get serious, and I get exactly like where he's coming from with that, because he's the kind of guy that has a great presence. He's strong like a bull. That if you put that title around him, he'll present it with class and dignity. And he'll put it on the next level. And for me, he would be on my short list in terms of carrying that Universal title, seeing that it is still relatively new.
Yeah, he's still relatively new, and he's still relatively interesting. You know what I mean? Like, if you give him that opportunity, it would help him, because right now, until you give him that opportunity to run with it, it's kind of one of those things like, when both of them are in the Royal Rumble and like Cesaro comes out and you're just like, okay, he's one of the bar and that's it, right? But if you were to give him that opportunity and have him have some sort of push or even like some sort of title reign or whatever, he can go back to having those massive over-the-top reactions as he once had. It's just a matter of how you present him and how you position him into, the spotlight, and then see what he's about. Because he really didn't have a whole lot of that opportunity to begin with. He was kind of teased with it. He was pulled back and forth and all kinds of things. So, well, it's interesting to see how that one's going to play out. We got some questions in the chat. You guys got to hang with us a little bit. We're going to get to them after. Broken Empire, David Jones, and everybody else that has any questions. We're going to be going through them for sure. Next matchup, real quick, we want to talk about would be Woken Matt Hardy, since we were talking about the Hardys. What a transition. We haven't slipped a bit. Versus Bray Wyatt. So we got Bray Wyatt versus Woken Matt Hardy. Now, I don't know about you. I think Matt Hardy 100,000% has to, if he doesn't go over, he has to look really strong in this. He really does, because at this point, if he loses this one, this whole gimmick is just going so south so quick, and it started at Raw 25. Your thoughts?
My thoughts with this are, now they've pigeonholed two amazing talents against each other who both need a major win, and have left the fans like us guessing, saying like, look, if this doesn't happen for him, it's turmoil, and if this doesn't happen for the other, it's turmoil. The problem is that, you know what, they're what, 2-3 years too late on the Bray Wyatt train, and now you put him up against a guy who has validity in the wrestling business. Like, Matt Hardy's been a household name in terms of the wrestling business for the better part of 20 years when you think about it.
Yes.
And yes, will he be willing to put Bray over in that circumstance? I don't think, with this whole transition to the new character, this whole Woken gimmick and stuff like that, is that really what you wanted to do with Matt Hardy, was push a talent that you sort of pigeonholed the last 3 years? Because now it's like a catch-22 for both guys. Like, for me, with what's going on, new gear, WrestleMania around the corner, stuff like that, business sense, it makes sense to push the Matt Hardy, the Woken gimmick, to the next level, because I feel like they haven't tapped into it.
No,
and I think there's a reason behind it. There's a reason behind it, and they're not really letting us in on it, and I like that as a fan. And I don't know if it's the Jeff Hardy factor or if it's something else, but I like the fact that, you know what, with the production value and the creativity and everything that has like a strong upside, sometimes making us wait a little bit longer is the right idea. And I'm hoping that they're just not going to wait us too long, to the point that we have the attitude of, I don't care. In this match, Woken Matt Hardy, yes, delete.
I'm with you. Yo, you're 100% right on this. I think you tapped into some really good topics, especially when it's like, okay, you kind of book yourself in a corner with these two talents. And this is one of those situations where I feel like it's on the reverse. Like, okay, Bray Wyatt should lose this one. And there hasn't been that many times where I can actually say that. You know what I mean? Like, in fact, it was actually the reverse, where I was like, Bray Wyatt needs to win this one. And then he would never get that victory, unless we're talking literally 1 year ago at Elimination Chamber. And that's where it all started for him. And then he got his little push, went to WrestleMania, lost the title. But hey, you know, at least he had that opportunity, and he had that spotlight, and he was arguably, well, co-main event, whatever you want to call it. And they had their moment with Orton, and it was good. And it was a good storyline. And everything building up to that WrestleMania was excellent storyline, and it was solid. Now you kind of look at it, okay, the Matt Hardy thing, it's like he got squashed in a way. I don't want to say squashed, but it was a quick match. Squished. Didn't have a yeah, squished. He didn't have a lot there, and you know, he lost. And I was just like, whoa, I didn't think that needed to happen. So I didn't understand the sort of direction they were going with Matt Hardy, because if I was them, you know, you waited this long to get the creative control for the broken, woken, whatever gimmick, and why you don't waste it. This is good stuff. This is really good stuff. Now, I'm not saying that the guy has to go undefeated, because let's face it, that stuff is kind of getting a little bit overdone. But I think it comes to a time where, okay, fine, if you're not going to let him, I mean, here's the thing. Let me back up a bit. This is probably their first pay-per-view together, right? Like, against each other. So I can't say too much if it does lose, but at the same time, I don't want to see this feud go on forever. And it feels like it has been going on for a little while. The promo works are kind of getting redundant. They're very similar, you know? And as much as I liked watching it the first, second, third time, this past Monday night, watching that and everything, I was just like, okay, kind of done with it in a way. And I hate to say that, because I like a good run-out feud. Like, you know, I like a feud that has a story behind it, and it takes its time and unfolds and stuff, but not when it's very repetitive. You know what I mean? Like, I like it, you know, where's the promos in his house, in his mansion? Where's the promos in, you know, the compound? Like, things like that. I think they could have, if they're choosing to make this go on a little bit longer, I think they're going to have to incorporate some different promo work, and not just one in front of a camera with a glass shattering, and one in front of the camera, and there's smoke behind them. I think they really need to dig deep and get into these creative juices and say, okay, these are two screwed up characters. Like, you have the ability to make this go on a little bit longer and have it, maybe even have a match at WrestleMania if you really do it properly and keep adding it and keep making it interesting every single week. What's going to happen? Like that promo that Matt Hardy did with Brother Nero when they were in the water and they had all the titles, the Impact titles, and they watched it. That kind of stuff was gold, And I think if they can incorporate some sort of promo into that, I think that it would work, and then you can. So ultimately, and what I'm saying is, if they decide to keep this going into a pay-per-view and maybe go into a second pay-per-view in WrestleMania, who knows? They probably won't, but we'll see. They need to sort of get a little bit more different. They need to just make it a little bit more change. And I think they can do it, and they have the ability, but we'll see what happens. That being said, I'm with you. Woken Matt Hardy, one way or another, has to win this. And it's just because if he doesn't, it feels like it's a little bit being wasted. And for the amount of time that I've been waiting to see this, I've been waiting to see it like right away. I would have loved for them to just obviously start off their whole WrestleMania comeback and everything, like WWE comeback, using the broken. They didn't even have to have the nostalgia pop, if you ask me, because the whole gimmick was so over in the whole world. So that's just my take, but should be Matt Hardy going over in this one, but we'll see what happens. Going on to the next one, we spoke about Sheamus and Cesaro before, and we got into depth in that. They're going up against a very random opponent who has 3 victories over them, and that would be Titus Worldwide, whatever. And Apollo versus Apollo and Titus O'Neil, I mean, and you got my first sex teacher, Dana Brooke, there with them. And, they're going up against Cesaro and Sheamus. So it's going to, does anybody, I think Steve on Wrestling Ramble actually said it. You might see the new tag team champions. And I'm just like, I love you, Steve, but no. What do you think?
Well, you need to ask yourself a question long-term. Will Titus Worldwide, who's selling more merch? Who's drawing at the gate? Who are people paying to see? Like, we've gone months at a time without seeing Apollo Crews on TV, and for lack of a better word, we've been okay with it.
It's so true.
He's tremendously talented,
and so good.
When you watch him at the live show, you're blown away by what he does.
Yep.
But in terms of watching it on TV, there was a good stretch there of like 4 or 5 months where he wasn't even on TV, and we were fine with that. And it's like, if you're that hot of a commodity, like, I don't think the Titus Worldwide shirt is selling like crazy compared to the bar. And it's like, I don't want to use like merch as a factor or draw at the gate as a factor. But the thing is there has to be some kind of drawing power. There's got to be a reason why you want to see the tag champs. And it's like, people like what they see with the bar. In hindsight, it was 7 months of them versus different dialects of the Shield. Mm-hmm. And that's unfortunate because there's so much talent on this roster. There's so many options that they could go with. You've built Titus Worldwide into this great conglomerate style tag team. And it's like, I feel like the end game is going to be BS for them. They got 3 wins on cable television with, 2 million people watching. Now we're going to go to the WWE network where we pay the $9.99 a month in the US and the $12.99 in Canada. And we're going to watch the same old stuff where unless the idea is to get the belt off the bar to put it back on the bar's winning this match. Like, it's a no-brainer.
Totally agree. I mean, everything that I wanted to say, you just pretty much did. And it's unfortunate. Like, I think, wasn't Apollo doing the movie? Was he in that movie?
Apollo 13?
Nope. Close one, though. Oh, man. I could have sworn I heard on Raw that he was in that movie, the one I just recently
Creed.
Eh? Strike 2. You only got one left, Nate. And we're only like 20 minutes in this thing.
You can't blame me for strike two. That's all Daniel Bryan. Okay, so
Fair enough. Fair enough. So I don't know, man. I mean, I'm with you. It's just, yeah, okay. They got 3 wins. Big whoop. They're not getting the fourth. And if they are, it's because of a DQ or something like that. Like one way or another. Okay, yeah, it's possible they could win the match if they're going if they're trying to push them a little bit and everything. And they added the Dana Brooke factor, so I was like, okay, I guess they're trying to make this a little bit more serious and not like a jobber tag team. And Apollo sort of grew a beard, so I'm very proud of him. And other than that, like I'm just not invested. Like I don't want to entertain this one as much as I'd like to. I hope that it's a really good match. I think Apollo will add to that. Hopefully Dana Brooke plays a factor and not just standing there with her clipboard and whatever else she has. Does she have a whistle?
no.
There's problem number one. Anyways,
Statistically speaking, I would have to disagree with that.
whatever you say. So I think you can agree with the fact that Cesaro and Sheamus are retaining the gold. And let's just move on to that next match because there's just.
If I'm not mistaken, it's not gold anymore; it's platinum. Just saying.
You're right. You're right. You're right. The technicalities, I can't get them past you, so I apologize.
What's on top of our game?
No kidding. We just have to stay on top of it. We don't have a choice, right? So, but we're not like most guys, right? And you know who's not like most girls? Nia Jax. Nia Jax is against Asuka. And this is very interesting because if Jax wins, she gets added to Asuka's championship match at WrestleMania 34. At least that's what I understood. I mean, we don't really 100% know who Asuka is going to go up against. I mean, we all assume it's going to be Bliss. But if she goes up against Charlotte, does that mean Nia Jax would be inserted into a triple threat match for SmackDown? Like, am I blowing people's minds here, or is it just me, or is it just like you get inserted into the Raw, women's championship match? Like, what do you get from this? It's very vague.
I'm gonna be bold as to say that, you know what, Asuka's first loss will come in a match that's gonna have heavy implications. Otherwise, they would have got that first loss out of the way a long time ago. I don't think this has huge implications when I look at it here.
Agreed.
The problem with this is I think that this is going to end up being a throwaway match where somebody's going to get DQ'd.
I agree.
We're just going to be left in the air saying, like, what the fuck?
I'm going to say that it's a no contest because there's just, what's the deal here? There's obviously some sort of payoff for Nia Jax. I think that she should be inserted into, one of the women's championships main events because they're going to have 2 of them, which is like the first time since WrestleMania, I don't know, 20 or 21. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I feel like.
What scares me about these 2 talents, and I know it's going to be a bold statement and some people are going to hate me for this, but whatever, that's what the chat room is for. Neither of these 2 are ready.
I'm kind of. You're talking about Asuka and Nia Jax, right?
They are not ready. They are not ready to have the implications of a world title match. For the simple reason that Asuka in the ring can hold her own, but what do you do between the time that she's in the ring and in the ring again? Nia Jax has had a history of being a bull in a china shop. And I'm not saying she's an unsafe worker. She's just been unsafe at times. And she's actually been called out on that. And I understand it's professional wrestling and people are going to get hurt and stuff, but it's also a brotherhood, now a sisterhood. And you got to look out. Like, You have to look at professional wrestling like a carnival. When it comes to your town, they're trying to get as much as your money and move on to the next town. How do you continue making money if you start putting people on the shelf by miscalculating this, miscalculating that, going too far with this, going too far with that? I understand pro wrestling, game of inches, but she put in her work in NXT. I just feel like there's no need to rush either of these two. Like there's like a huge upside to these two that's going to be potential for the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to force anything with these two. And personally, for me, neither of them long term are ready. I'm tired of the last end of 2017, early 2018. I have to be politically correct because this is a women's division and they deserve respect and they deserve this and they deserve that. Bottom line is, and my end game for me to change my heart in terms of the women's wrestling was when Sasha Banks did that dive through the ropes 3 weeks ago and almost broke her own neck because she's trying to prove something that she doesn't have to. She's good. We get that. These ladies, they're good. We get that. Some are fine-tuned and ready, but let's face it, not everyone is Charlotte Flair. Not everyone is Natalya. Not everyone is athletically gifted like Naomi. Accept your limits, work within them, and go home to your family and get your paycheck. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and keep everybody safe in the meantime.
That's right. I got super political in that match. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna hold them to the fire, just like I do with the guys now. You wanted that respect, you're getting it on the same level. Yeah. That's basically it.
Yeah, no, but it makes sense though. And that's why, like, you know, some people are kind of going around. Like, I saw a bunch of stuff online going to your point where it's like they're talking about, you know, Ronda Rousey and, you know, oh, she should get a title shot right away. No, like, where do you get off that this is a good idea? You know what? You're going to put her in a match against Charlotte? You got to be kidding me. You're going to put her in a match against...
That's also the same person that's turning around saying it's time to get the damn belt off Brock because he's carried it around and hasn't defended it. We saw him a stone's throw amount of times the entire year, and frankly, we're just not seeing the champion enough. Well, with Ronda Rousey, you're going to get the same thing if you put the title on her. They're not going to have her defend on Raw every week or SmackDown every week and have her be like a fighting champion like AJ Styles is. They're not going to do that because she's not ready. And can we be honest? Like the elephant's in the room. Oh, look, elephant in the room. Sorry, I called it. It's an elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Some of these women are not ready. And yes, you can fine-tune them and develop them while they play their characters on TV.
Agreed. And, you know, with WrestleMania coming, it's not just about like, okay, yeah, it's going to draw money. Yeah, you're right. It's going to draw money. And it's also going to draw a shit fucking reaction as far as like a post-match reaction. You can't put inexperienced people with experienced people and expect it's going to just work because of the names. It just doesn't work that way. At least I think so. Like you said, you know, there's no rush on this whole thing. You can fine tune it as you go and then build towards something next year. It's not end all be all for WrestleMania 34. And it's over and done with. I get it. If it's the last WrestleMania of all time, fine. Put all your chips in. Go for it, you know? But other than that, like, what's the rush here? You can't do that. Like, I fear for the outcome. I fear for, I don't want to say it stinks up the place, but I fear for it. I want it to be good. I do. And I'm sure you do too. And that's why we're talking about it. We have no problem with it as far as like, it's not like, you know, we have beef with women's matches. We don't. But let's try to incorporate it properly. Let's try to incorporate it safely. And let's incorporate it in a way that makes sense from a business standpoint, from a personal standpoint, and also in some sense, you know, an earning and money standpoint, all that kind of stuff. And just build towards something going forward. You don't have to just give everything in one shot and then, yes, okay, you're going to give her that title shot and that's it. That's all. Even Asuka, like, okay, if she goes against Charlotte Flair, I'm not crazy to think that Charlotte could beat her, especially even this year at WrestleMania. I am not opposed to the fact that women's wrestling wants to have a little bit of that shock value that you know, The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar had. That was awesome. But if you want to separate it and split it down the middle, that was a guy's moment. It was, when you think about it. Why can't the women have something like that? They should. But imagine the uproar if Asuka and everybody's like, oh, Asuka's going to beat Charlotte and that's it, that's all. Imagine Charlotte wins. Now you got something that you can kind of cook. Now you got, like, you go in the crowd and you see a bunch of reactions like, you got to be kidding me. And then you just go full heel with Charlotte from that point on. It could be amazing stuff. Am I right? So I don't know. I could get a lot of heat for that. So a lot of people want to see the streak go on for so long. They want to see it go on for a year on the main roster. And it's just like, am I the only one that doesn't really want to see that sometimes?
I just don't think that's the long-term value. I think the story of telling the long road back after the first loss has a bigger payoff long-term for the company.
Yeah, like I want to see Asuka backstage on the streets with a bottle of liquor, a brown bag, drinking. Maybe she grows a little stubble, you know? I want to see that. Maybe she puts on the thong underwear correctly instead of on top of, her wrestling outfit. Maybe she's all backwards and inside out. Think about it, man. You can have...
It goes blue hair goes pink. It's all over the place. It's chaos.
It's crazy. She gets a little bit of blue armpit hair here, pink here. Hey, the possibilities are endless, man. Like, I think that they, like you said, they could get to a point where, you know what, you have... It's not just about, okay, WrestleMania and then that's it. That's all. I'm okay. Here we go, Monday or like you got to figure out. They don't have a big time span, man. Yeah, okay, you have the Raw after WrestleMania, and they obviously drop this and drop that, but there still has to be a follow through from the night before, and it's not a lot of time. You might as well just cook up something that's going to be really solid for the next like 6 months, so you don't even have to worry about it, if you know what I'm getting at. You know what I mean? Where you could just, okay, this is a great idea. Let's just coast on this one for a long period of time, so at least we can kind of focus on this area and this area also. And but we know that this one over here is working. You follow me? So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think we have some good ideas there. So all things to say, we both kind of agreed that it's some sort of no contest, that sort of thing, and I'm okay with that. So but I'd like to see it unfold into something that makes sense and not just something that's kind of thrown together, and we'll see if it sticks. So that eats up that one. We got the 2 Elimination Chamber matches next. Real quick, let's answer a couple of questions, I guess, right before we get into the elimination. Are you cool with that, Nate Dogg?
Absolutely.
So, Broken Empire saying Nate Dogg looking like Elias. So, with the crying laughter emoji, we appreciate that. David Jones, he says, I was thinking the same thing. Broken Empire is filming his predictions as well. I'll be sure to check that one out there. Don't you guys worry. And David Jones also asked us, it's a little bit off topic from WWE, but it's still pro wrestling in general. We were talking about NXT and everything before. He says, when do you think Gargano will be called to the main roster?
Oh, yeah. You want the honest answer?
Go.
I think that they're going to drop the ball and send him to 205 Live.
Same here. I think they're going to insert him into the tournament.
It's like a poker tournament where now they're playing their chips across the table. They felt that they'd gained some steam back with this whole Maverick GM 205 thing. They started this new 16-man tournament.
I think it helps.
It helps, but where's the end game and the long term?
Buddy Murphy. Next question. I've been impressed with this man, but I've been a fan with him for a long time,
Well, for some reason, I feel the story of redemption, there's going to be some kind of loophole and he's going to be allowed to go back to NXT. But it's going to be after the Andrade Cien Almas title run is like said and done. Because there's something going on there with Ciampa that's not settled. And I really, really want to see that match.
No kidding. I think that they should find a way to sort of get him, like you said, get him inserted back into NXT at some point. And if they're not going to do that, my only other option is, after this 205 Live tournament is done, you don't have to have it. Ooh, you could have it right away at WrestleMania as soon as the winner is declared. Where I think, by the way, it'll be between Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander, and I'm not sure who's going to win that one, but that's just my guess. I could be completely wrong. It could be also Drew, but we'll see. I mean, it's basically yeah, exactly. It's also it's gonna come down to all three of those guys, right? And then you could have it where whoever wins that, and then you hit the theme music, and I think it'd be a nice little moment. It'd be a really cool moment to have like a Gargano show up on WrestleMania. I think that would be excellent. But I'm with you. I mean, just the way that they ended it on NXT, and I love the way they did the camera at the end. You had Ciampa, and he was just kind of like waving, and that was it. Like, it was great. So I don't know. I'm with you. I think that they have to find a way to sort of end that. They can't just let that one hanging over here and then okay, I'm going to go over and do that. No, it doesn't work that way. Especially when obviously he attacked him after the match at Takeover, and then he cost him his career. I mean, it doesn't end out that way. Let's be honest.
To answer the question in terms of going to the main roster, I'm scared that he's going to end up in like a tag team with Ty Dillinger, and they're going to get lost in the mix like Breezango did.
We have to be careful with that. Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like that, if he goes to like a main roster thing, they're not going to push him to any titles. He's not going to be the U.S. champion. He's not going to be in the mix for the Intercontinental title. And there's guys that are established that have the belts now that don't need them. And there's guys that need to be established and absolutely will need them.
I agree. And in NXT, Gargano is the man that should be holding the title at some point. If anything, the payoff that I see, or at least I think could happen if I was doing fantasy booking, would have to be Gargano against Ciampa. And if he wins, okay, here's the thing. If he loses that match, then he's for sure gone. He's done at that point. But if he wins that match, he gets one more chance at the title, and then he overcomes that obstacle too. Kind of like a Daniel Bryan part 2. Because let's face it, that's kind of the direction they seem to be going with him a little bit. At least we sort of saw that. You might as well just finish and close the book and have him hold the title for a little bit. And then, you can have a little bit of a feud between him. And then you bring up Cien. I mean, there's possibilities there. But I'd like to see something like that where he beats Ciampa and then he goes, and he wins the title. Because I think he deserves to win the title. It's one of those things where it's kind of wasted.
But now you're in a situation where you've bottlenecked the title division because you and I can sit here and agree and go, Gargano needs that title. Velveteen Dream needs that title. Aleister Black needs that title. And it's like, we can't rush 3 guys of this caliber all to the title in the same area. Like, we're going to have to spread it out. And it's like, with the way things are going, you can't leave Aleister Black in NXT for another full calendar year. Like, that doesn't make any damn sense. Just the marketing alone.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Velveteen Dream you can keep down there for a little bit longer because he's just I don't want to say he's heating up. He's already pretty hot, and we've been on that train for a while, but he's really, really getting over right now. And as long as they keep him, they need to keep him a heel though. The stuff that he's doing right now. I know he's getting cheered a lot, but you just need to keep it that way. But that's a challenge you're gonna face when you're booking this stuff because you have like 3 guys that are just like, wow, any minute you can almost kind of make a run for it and see what happens. So really good question, David Jones. We appreciate it. We're gonna go back to the Elimination Chamber and we're gonna answer some more questions after. So
do we have to? No, I'm kidding.
I know, right? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So here we go. We got Braun Strowman. Wow. Braun Strowman. Okay. Which one do you want to talk about? You're the guest. Which one? You want to go with the ladies one or the men's one? Which one you're excited about talking about first?
I'm fresh off the heat from the Asuka Nia Jax. I'd really like to get the women's one out of the way and just go into a great ball of fire.
You just had to go there. And of course, Broken Empire just commented. So that's how me and him met. How funny it is. So, okay, I'm with you because let's be honest here. Oh, wait. Actually, no, you have a different point of view on this one. You do have a different point of view on this one because you got 6 people, 6 women. Alexa Bliss, champion, versus Bayley, versus Mandy Rose versus Mickey James versus Sasha Banks versus Sonya Deville. So you have a different take on this, but I think that Alexa Bliss should be going into WrestleMania as champion to sort of unfold what's going to happen. I think she's ready for it. I think she should be there. But you have a different idea. So tell us about your idea.
I got Alexa winning, and I got Carmella cashing in as soon as she wins. After she does her little heel promo of, I told you I'm the best. You guys doubted me. Don't ever doubt me again. Blah, 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 blah. Then it's going to be one of those Stephanie McMahon grabs a microphone and she's like, yeah, Kurt Angle won't get this right, so I'm going to introduce it to you. I got somebody cashing in their money in the bank right now, and it's this person. And then there's going to be the moonwalk, and then Carmella's going to moonwalk all over her ass, 1, 2, 3. Carmella goes to WrestleMania, the Raw Women's Champion. However, on the flip side, I'm trying to think who comes over from SmackDown and goes to Raw, because there's going to be a flip somewhere. I'm not
Asuka goes to SmackDown to face Charlotte. There you go. Done. Beautiful.
You realize if we're right,
everyone else is wrong.
We are absolutely
perfect. You guys heard it here first, and I'm going to take a screenshot of this if we did just call that, because that's fantastic booking right there.
It's such a collective effort. You found the one going from Raw to SmackDown. I found the one going from SmackDown to Raw.
Beautiful. Great minds think alike. So, all right, we got that one. I like that one, Nate. That's beautiful. So then we got Braun Strowman, arguably one of the most over big men of all time. Oh, did I just say that? It could be possible. It could be possible. Versus Elias, versus Finn Balor, versus John Cena, versus Roman, versus Seth Rollins, versus The Miz. This is a star-studded elimination chamber. And it's unfortunate that we kind of get the idea or maybe the hint that Roman Reigns is going over. And I want to talk about that with you. It's one of those cases where maybe people thought that Roman Reigns is going to win the Rumble. And I was like, at first I was like, yeah, that could happen. And I was like, no, he's going to win the Chamber. But here we are. We're at the Chamber. He's running out of chances to kind of go into WrestleMania, which we kind of are thinking it's going to go between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Now, there could be an X factor here. Roman Reigns could win some sort of other stipulation match between now and WrestleMania. Yes, you're right. There's no more Raw pay-per-views. Doesn't mean he can't win a chance, because you still have, 4 or 5 Raws up until WrestleMania. I want to say about 4 at least, maybe 5. Anyhow, this could be a good opportunity to sort of throw a wrench into plans and see what happens. So who do you have for this match, and tell me why?
I have Braun Strowman winning the match, because the whole wrestling community is fixated with this idea that Roman Reigns is going to WrestleMania as the champion, blah, blah, bling, bling, blah. And I think WWE wants to capitalize on that. And I think that they were trying to pinpoint exactly the right time where they were going with Strowman becoming their next champion. He's one of their workhorses. I'm not saying he's the best in the ring. I'm not saying he's the best in the world. But this guy had a tremendous 2017. 2018 looks like a major upside. He's earned it. He's proved it. And I think that he can actually carry it. So there's absolutely no reason why we can't put that strap on him and give him that main event at WrestleMania. I just don't see how we can overlook the fact. Like, if you look at it, Braun Strowman had a way better 2017 than Roman Reigns did.
From a match standpoint, I'll argue that maybe not. But in a whole standpoint, like, who's talking about him? Everybody. So I agree. And the cool thing about Braun Strowman is, like what you said, you know, he's had an amazing 2017. 2018 is looking like a banner year. And I'm okay with that, because the difference is with Braun Strowman and the rest of the face wrestlers that got over. He got over so well by himself. He was literally, the big man on the Wyatt family. And okay, people, wow, he was a specimen to be looked at. And okay, he was strong and all that kind of stuff. We've seen that 100,000 times. But the difference was when he had those squash matches at first, and he would just come out and hear the bro, and then he'd go in and kick the crap out of James Ellsworth and 100 other different people, and then that was it. That's all. But it was that moment right after that where once he started to kind of gain some steam and get in the main event with and started throwing punches with Roman Reigns and some of the big guys, that's when he started to see what this guy was really able to do. Like you said, workhorse, working really hard, week in, week out, adding a little bit of charisma as he slowly started to turn into a face wrestler. And it's just so amazing that he was able to do that with the kind of character that he has. Everybody has always talked about, we don't like the big men. We don't like the big muscle guys. Okay, yeah, fine. He's not the total package Lex Luger, but he's huge. He's a massive, strong man. That's what he is. He's a strong man. And it's just so awesome to see that there's still love for the big man. You know what I'm talking about? And he's earned that 100,000% by himself. And now he just gets this massive reaction. SummerSlam was like the icing on the cake for him. And since then, he's still been red hot. And I just fear for this. I fear for it because I want him to be in the main event at WrestleMania. I do. I even want a one-on-one against Lesnar, and I want him to beat Brock Lesnar. I don't even think Roman Reigns needs to be there, personally. Not because I love Roman Reigns. I think he's a valuable asset to WWE. But I just don't know if he needs to be there. And if he is there, I just fear for Strowman. It's kind of like what we were talking about with Seth Rollins. We don't really want him in the title picture unless he's going to win. So are you okay with the fact of him winning the Elimination Chamber, going to WrestleMania, Roman Reigns being certain, and Braun Strowman doesn't win? Do you think that hurts him?
I don't think it. No, I don't think it hurts them.
Because this is another opportunity for him. Like, this would be his third opportunity because he lost to Lesnar. And then, he lost in the triple threat match at SummerSlam. And then this would be his third opportunity. But I'm with you. I don't think it would cool him down at all. But I think it'd be a piss off, like a tease, like too much of a tease. You can't tease that.
Well, you're WWE. You could do whatever you want.
Fair enough.
But the upside that I like about Strowman, and I'll tell you why. You were talking about his heel to face turn. I have not seen one that cleverly done since Stone Cold's heel to face turn. When he turned face and the crowd started cheering him on shortly after the Ringmaster, and he had his match with Brett and stuff like that, and the crowd sort of turned and started cheering him on, he was the first one on the mic in the ring to be all like, whatever. You cheer me, you boo me, I don't care. I'm not here for you, I'm here for me.
Yeah.
Since that time, which was, 95, 96? Yeah. Since that time, he's the first one to do, like, the same thing. Like, he's done, like, the whole, you're going to get these hands. And he doesn't care whether he gets booed out of the building or standing ovation out of the building. And that's what I love about this guy's presence. He naturally turned from heel to face and can be heel to face depending what town and any show, and do it flawlessly because he just, either way, somebody's going to get those hands.
Yeah, he's remarkable like that. And that's what I wanted to say is, like, he was able to do that and get an overreaction and be like the man. Whereas guys like AJ Styles and Nakamura, they have a background. People know who they are. They come from different organizations. Strowman didn't have that. He literally came in and, he was on Adam Rose's party. He was one of the party crew. What were they called again? The
Rosebuds.
Thank you. Yeah, he was one of the Rosebuds. Maybe some people don't know that, whatever. But he was incorporated into that, and then he became Braun Strowman in the Wyatt family, and it was awesome. But the the three of them are so different. But you can categorize Nakamura and AJ Styles over here because they're already established. They're the man, and like it's easy to kind of stay over and hot when you're that good. in other promotions and you've been doing it for that long. Strowman was able to sort of, okay, I got this clay here, and what can I make with it? Well, I'm going to make a big monster, and I'm going to make these people like me or not, like you said, or I don't really care. And the cool thing is like it started to happen. Yes, there was the Roman Reigns factor where like, okay, he was, you know, in the ambulance and he kind of threw the ambulance and tipped it over to whatever the hell he did again. But it didn't just stop there. Normally that happens in a match and then, okay, people go back to booing him and then that's it. That's all. But with Strowman, he was able to sort of take that momentum, build on it and continue and push that into like new realms of like awesomeness. And that's why I like this guy, because he's very interesting. And every single week he comes out and I'm like, okay, like I'm intrigued. Every time I hear his music, I want to look up, you know, I just want to see what he's going to do next. And I just love everything about him at this point. So nobody kind of deserves it more, but the challenge is WWE ready to sort of give him that, or are they going to, you know, start him on a lower scale and go from there? Because my idea, like I was telling you, is, you know, maybe have him go up against the Miz and it's going to be a super squash match. And I know, you know, he deserves maybe a little bit more of that, but it's still a prestigious title that the Miz has made, and he can still have his moment and still be the man and everything else, and then see how he is as a title holder. But I don't know if everybody else kind of nobody wants to see that, it seems, you know, but I could see it happening. It's not enough.
I just don't know. Like, to me, Miz is an A-list superstar. He's a great presence and stuff like that. But I think Miz is in the position where if he's going to hand that title over, it's to make somebody.
True.
And to me, Strowman's a made guy without the title, to be perfectly honest.
I don't want anybody to get this twisted. If I had the choice between the two, obviously I'm going to go with him going over at WrestleMania for the triple threat or one-on-one, like I said. There's nobody else that should beat Brock Lesnar other than him at this point. There's nobody else. It's believable, and it's great. And people would like to see it, and people would mark out, oh my God, they actually did it. Like, I think it would be a really cool moment. I really, really, really do. So I don't want anybody to get that twisted. I'm just saying we've seen this kind of stuff happen before, and they kind of go in a different direction because of other reasons. And I can see that happening, the one with the Miz and the squash match, and that's it. That's all. We've seen them make sort of decisions like that. Wasn't the right timing, too late, or not the right place, right time. And I fear that that could happen. I don't think it's going to do any damage to his career, but I do think that they could go a different direction and really maximize on this really hot ticket being Braun Strowman.
If anything, I would rather, if we were going back to the Miz, and we want to talk about his match at his IC title, well, you slam the door on Finn Balor's run to the Universal title, and it doesn't seem imminent in any way in the next 5, 6, 7 months, unless they speed it up. I would love to see Finn Balor versus Miz. I just think that matchup on the grandest stage of them all, I think, Miz is allowed to take, because his kid will be on the way that weekend too. So it's a great way to transition that championship to a guy who has instant international credibility.
I like it. Let me add somebody maybe to that match if I can, because I don't think there's a home for Seth Rollins yet. Can we add him in this match? I think it would make it that much more epic, because the Miz has made that title really prestigious, as I said before. Now, I'm not saying you have to have Seth Rollins win, but I think if you incorporate him into the match with Finn Balor and the Miz, you can't tell me you wouldn't be excited for that.
Problem is, now that you mentioned that, I just had like this epiphany, and what happens is you keep him out of the IC title run, right? And we can find him something at WrestleMania. It's not that big of a deal. Puts over, loses the match, whatever, wins the match. It doesn't really matter what match they put him in. Seth Rollins is Seth Rollins. He's got a long future there, he's got at least 10 years easy if he takes care of himself properly. So I'm not worried about Seth Rollins for the short nor the long term. But this just came to me. Now that we've pulled Reigns sort of back from the Universal title picture, why not the Raw after WrestleMania? We team up Rollins and Reigns, and they go against the Bar for the tag titles. No.
Oh, you know, I feel like we saw that before. I love how you just like pieced that. I was expecting like this gargantuan, like, oh my god, and then I'm like, really? Like this? You literally, I believe they call it a callback in comedy, where like you make a joke about something earlier in the thing, and then you like bring it back eventually, and that was excellent. That was really well done. The worst part is like you can almost see it happen before your eyes if that was to happen. So that is really good done. That was well done. Trivia reactions 94. My man has a question for us, and he wants us to discuss a little something about WrestleMania. Given the fact, Nate Dogg, that they are going to go in this direction of Cena and Undertaker, which they should. By the way, before we get into that question, trivia man, aka Malik Kelly. Okay, I think. Well, I don't know if I think. I hope the Undertaker shows up. I hope that the Undertaker shows up in the chamber. I know we've seen it 100 times. We've seen the trap door, you know, come up through the ring. I just never get tired of it, you know. So I kind of want him to come out and do something to John Cena, and I want Elias to get the pin on him. I think Elias is going to have a big elimination in this chamber match. I really think so, man. And I want to know what you think about that. Should they do it? Should they? Or should they wait till like Raw and all that stuff? I'd love to see Undertaker in the Elimination Chamber and just cost John Cena and just start it from there. I know it has no purpose. They've had no beef, but you got to start somewhere. What do you think?
I was sitting here a couple weeks ago on the couch watching Monday Night Raw, and I was discussing with my girlfriend Melissa about the idea of Undertaker coming back for one more WrestleMania. And the conclusion of that conversation took place, and I've came to the realization or the comfort in the fact that I don't want him back. They don't need him back. And if they were gonna have him do one more, the send off that they gave him, I don't personally think can be topped. And why would you want to ruin that moment? I just think that they did that poetically, visually. Everything was right about that moment. Like the whole ring crew, like taking down everything while his stuff was in the ring. It was just like, it was the tribute that you will never see another talent in professional wrestling ever have again.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they go back and they bring Taker back for the one night payoff and whatever, like, don't get me wrong, as a professional wrestler, they're not going to pay him, you know, in bananas and peanuts. It's going to be a huge payoff for Taker. So in the end, it's up to him. But the thing is that he's given so much to the business. He's given so much to himself. He's also sacrificed so much for himself that even if it's like a 6-8 minute match, to me, it's not worth taking away the moment that they set up last year. Like I'm ready and comfortable enough to let the Undertaker be the Undertaker, and if he wants to be an entity that shows up but doesn't compete, I can live with that.
Yeah.
I don't want his in-ring career anymore. We don't need it, and I think we need to get our heads wrapped around the idea that it's not there anymore.
And that's what I'm saying too. Like, you know, we were talking on another podcast with Broken Empire and a bunch of other people, Steve, Wrestling Rambo, Kyron, you know, Mark Rambo and all those guys, right? And I was like, well, how do we top that send-off? How do we do it? It's like impossible. You can't. And especially if you're going to do it, like, what are you going to do it the following year? And is it for real this time? I mean, the thing is like he showed up on Raw 25 and he had things to say. It wasn't against anybody. It wasn't anything else. It was just I did this and did this, and there was no real like closure, if you will. Not that he needs it, but at the same time, it's like, well, you didn't really mention anything about you hanging it up. You kind of look like you were hanging it up, but now it seems like, are you just saying you're going to be here once in a while? Are you saying you're going to have a match? I mean, it always keeps the door open, and it kind of, protrudes to the Undertaker's mysterious character, which I can kind of see if they were doing that on purpose. That being said, it's just, I'm with you, because if they do go with this John Cena versus Undertaker match, you have to have Cena win it. And then you have to have Undertaker be like, wow, I really don't have it anymore. And then they got to do something crazier than what they just did. But how do you top that?
Is that how you want to send Undertaker away?
I don't think they have a choice.
Come to the realization in front of multi-millions on the WWE network and pay-per-view and 80,000 in the stadium, and have him have a self-reflection of himself in the middle of the ring saying, I don't have it anymore. I shouldn't have come back one more time. Like, to me, that's not fair for a guy that gave like 3 decades of his life to professional wrestling.
I know.
If they showed the class to Flair, if they gave the gateway of Taker to do it the way that he wants to, I think they did it right. The only other way that you could send him off would be in a comedic sense. And the only idea that pops in my head right now is to have Sting rappel down from a helicopter and bash him in the back of the head with a bat after he wins the match. And to me, like, okay, even though Sting is dressed like a clown, neither of them are a joke. That's basically how I feel.
They've really, now talk about booking yourself in a corner with this one is like this is on steroids, because you don't have to, like you said, you don't have to bring him back. You don't have to do anything with him right now. He's completely fine with the career he had and the send-off he had and everything else. So you're right. I mean, I wasn't like, saying like, okay, he has to like actually say the words like, oh, I don't have it anymore or whatever. But it's more like a sign of respect. John Cena's in the ring. He helps, not that he needs the help, but he gives him that ovation, raises his hand, this is Undertaker, blah, blah, blah. Then he leaves, and then Undertaker has his moment. I don't know. I mean, but he already had his moment. So,
and that's what I mean. But where's the payoff? Like, Cena's not staying full-time either.
I know, but like, who else is going to,
stop trying to rebook once in a lifetime every year. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get The Rock and Hogan. You're not going to get end of an era Triple H versus, Undertaker. You got to stop looking for that and start looking on the other side. The way they wrote Undertaker off last year was absolutely perfect.
It was.
I don't think that you can top it. And at the same time, I would hate for them to tarnish it. So to have him implicated in any match whatsoever with a guy that's going to become a part-timer does not make any sense.
Career versus career, it doesn't make sense either.
The torch to Reigns.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm with you. There's nothing really more to be done there, and you can't do a career versus career. You can't do a career versus title. So I don't know. I really don't know how they're going to go about it. But if they were to do it, I can kind of see Cena winning this one. It's just as simple as that.
The only payoff there is another notch in Cena's belt, another win that he doesn't need, another tarnishment on Undertaker's career. Like, to me, in the end, the losses, I'm okay with the fact that Undertaker didn't go undefeated at WrestleMania. It's professional wrestling. Let's get real with ourselves. Like, it's Vince's creation. It's his project. It's been his poster boy for 3 decades now.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. And you know what? When he came to terms with it and said, you know what? Let's be realistic. Undertaker has to lose. To compile the number of losses in the short amount of time doesn't tarnish the whole career, but it sort of sends a cluster to the fan that's been watching over 3 decades. So it's like, unless you're gonna start calling this thing Undertaker Mania, like, can we just let the sleeping dog lie? Like, I just don't see what the ultimate payoff is. Like, I understand, like, we miss him, we love what he's done, we love his legacy, but it's like, okay, he's moved on, he's passed the torch, he's given it to this guy, he's given it to that guy, and it's like, what does a win by Cena over Undertaker at WrestleMania ultimately pay
Yeah.
off at the end? There's none.
No, you're absolutely right. Look, you're not wrong. The only thing that I can say is a payoff, but it's not really a payoff. It's more like the reason why is it's just never been done. You've never seen the match. But with that respect, it's like, well, if they're gonna go that route, would they do a Sting versus Taker the year after? Because that hasn't been done either. But let's be real here. I mean, that's just a little bit way too out there. But the Cena Undertaker one, we never saw it. It is late. It's way too late. It could have happened 10 years ago. Would have been awesome. You could have even had a title on the line for that one. But now in this day and age, it's like, is it really that important that you need to do it? I think I could do without it, I think if I had the choice between wanting to see this match now and leaving Undertaker's, again, another send off, and then sort of like we're like, okay, it was very interesting how they booked it, very strange but interesting, or just be okay with the fact that I never saw it at WrestleMania, and keep the proper send off, and then have, like you said, and like we talked about, have Undertaker just show up once a year. He does his little shtick somehow, and he does something creepy, or he shows up out of nowhere and he choke slams somebody and he does his thing. I would take that. I would take that.
Well, something like this conversation just jogged my memory. I'm thinking back to like WrestleMania 18 when they did Hogan versus The Rock, and how that ultimately led to things a few months later. That the belt transitioned from Jericho to Triple H to Hogan, Hogan to Undertaker, and by then you had Hogan versus Undertaker at Judgment Day. So if you were going to put those two juggernauts in the ring together on a middle of the realm pay per view, so if you want Cena to have this legacy win over the Undertaker because it's never happened, you don't have to do it at WrestleMania. Like, if you could do Hogan versus Taker at Judgment Day, you could do the same thing Cena versus Undertaker at, like, say, I don't know, Money in the Bank or Hell in a Cell or whatever pay-per-view you choose. But it doesn't have to be WrestleMania. Like, as a fan, and I'll see that on the marquee, John Cena versus Undertaker, I'm not running out or paying the WWE Network to show me that match because of that's what's on the card. There's other matches I want to see.
Yes.
That I'm buying it for. So if there's no payoff there, I'm not going to get around with like my wrestling fans, like go over to your house and hang out with my buddies and be all like, oh my God, this is, once in a lifetime, end of an era, blah, 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 and be all excited about it. Like, for me, it's actually one of those matches where I go, okay, here's a guy that's been the marquee, another guy that's been the marquee. They're at the marquee pay-per-view of the year. There's no payoff either way. They're both sort of out the door after they get their check. So what do you get out of it? A huge check. It doesn't increase the buy rate that much. No one's paying more to see that match. Like, for me, it's all online communities going blah, 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 blah. I want to see Cena versus Taker. But at what point do we realize Taker needs to retire? And he can't go anymore. And I want to remember Taker for the good stuff. And the send-off was perfect. Don't recreate. Don't reinvent the wheel. It turns. It's round. Let's not reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about that.
I think we can agree. I think we can agree for sure on that topic. So, I mean, well, we're going to see. It'll be interesting to see if they do go in that direction or not. you never know. They could just scrap it. We've seen it before where they've had ideas and not necessarily stuff in regards to Undertaker and Cena that they kind of went away with, but we've seen ideas that they kind of, thrown out the window,
So
more so with celebrities, Shaq, things like that,
how about this? We spitball this idea. Undertaker passes the torch to Nia Jax, who becomes the Undertaker and beats Asuka at WrestleMania. Continuing the streak.
Oh God.
I don't know. I'm trying to sell tickets here.
You want to boost the revolution? That's how you do it. That's for sure.
Regurgitate gimmicks back to the women.
It's a circle of life, right? It's a circle of life. It's like Crows. Going back to Crows and Sting and everything else.
I still like my Shield bar after WrestleMania.
Well, it hasn't been done. So I could see why. I could see why you'd want to see that. Well, that being said, guys, we just wrapped up the whole card. We got it on tomorrow night at 8 o'clock.
WWE.
Sorry?
Got to plug the network. 8 o'clock Eastern, WWE Network.
8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, only on the WWE Network for $9.99, $12.99 in Canada.
Is there a 7 o'clock pre-show?
Yes, you are.
Oh my God, right. You're not marketing it well.
Oh man, you're right. You're right. It's like I haven't done this before. You're right. I'm rusty. But we want to thank you guys for tuning in. We've had some nice questions here that we'd like to answer, and we had fun doing so. Nate, it was an absolute pleasure having you. It's we never skip a beat. We never miss anything here, and it's always solid wrestling talk, man. So, my man, thank you very much for being here on Mounties Corner. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Mountie. It's always a pleasure. It's always an honor. Let me take a few seconds to thank everyone that gives this a view, a like, a share. It's always a pleasure to share our thoughts and feelings about professional wrestling with the wrestling community. Ed and I have been doing it since, 2014?
Yeah.
It's a passion of ours. We keep getting driven by it. It's always an honor for us to collaborate and do something. Anybody out there who's running their shows, do not be shy to hit us up, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, to ask us to collaborate. We're an open slate. We love to share our points of view with the world. Mountie, thank you for the stage, brother. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to everyone that shared the questions. And yeah, I'm forever grateful, guys.
No problem. And you know what? Give a second and tell everybody where they can find you.
Right now, I'm actually in my apartment in Point Claire, Quebec. Oh, you missed my credentials. Okay. I had started a channel last year called 5 Minute Promo. It's an upstart project that I want to get back on track. There's some stuff in there that's from last year. I shot like a mini NXT documentary for people that like to go to the NXT like house shows and stuff like that. Just to give you an inquiry as to what it's like as opposed to like a WWE live event. They are not the same. Totally getting off topic here, but
no, the vlog was awesome, and I think you should incorporate that more often.
Hopefully in the future, if we collaborate to go to shows together, we could shoot like a mini series of each other doing that kind of thing and share it on our channels. So the channel on YouTube is 5 Minute Promo. You can hit me up on Instagram on MA LaFave. What else do I have? My Twitter, NateDawg316. Some of the guys that, gave the questions already have those credentials. Like it, share it, reach out to me if you want to collab. I'm not shy. Other than that, I think I shared all my info.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate having you, buddy. And it's always a pleasure. Like I said before, I mean, Elimination Chamber is probably it's really gonna pave the road. It's really gonna pave the road here. We're gonna see a lot of payoffs here. We're gonna see a lot of different things happen, unfold. Which way are they finally gonna go? Or at least, slowly sort of start to see things unfold as far as storylines are concerned. Who's going to be in the main event? Who's going to be in the championship? Who's going to win the chamber? I mean, this is no matter what, it's still a huge accomplishment to win the Elimination Chamber. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen there, and hopefully you are too. So we're going to see you guys tomorrow night. As far as Mounties Corner is concerned, we're going to have a couple of skits coming your way soon. I have great news that I actually won a Wrestling Radio Award for Best New Show in 2018, and that was just spectacular. And I have a celebratory video coming your way soon. I also have a skit with Carmella coming, so you don't want to miss that because it's going to look ridiculous. And then I'm also going to reply to Kip Clips, who is calling out all wrestling YouTubers, and it's going to be a phenomenal one as well. We have some other podcasts coming, you know, between me and Nate down the road very soon. I have some other podcasts coming with Trivia / Reactions 94 next Wednesday night. That's going to be amazing. I have a Q&A session coming also with Broken Empire. So it's stacked. It's WrestleMania season. I'm going to be busy. Hope to see you guys. I really appreciate all of you. I am the Mountie, and I always get my views. Rip them. I'm the Mountie, and I always get my views.